Good morning, everyone. Let's take a few more breaths together. We're just going to breathe a lot. Let it all out. Exhale first, and take a deep breath in, and let it go. Another deep breath together, breathing in, letting it go. Another deep breath, breathing in, and letting go. And so good morning again and again and again. If you don't know me already, I'm Reverend Elisha Christopher. I'm the spiritual director of the Center for Spiritual Living. I do use they and them pronouns, and because many of us, almost all of us who live in this country, our ancestors immigrated here from somewhere. We are a nation of immigrants. We like to remind us this every week. I tell you that my ancestors came to this country from Ireland, Scotland, Austria, and Holland. And so let's dive in. Because as you may or may not know, this month's theme is rolling in the deep. And my, have we been doing such? I feel in a lot of ways that I've been rolling in it recently. The deep is up. It's everywhere. It's messy. It's icky. It's sticky. I keep finding myself in it. And I'm sure many of us have and are as well. Whether it's whatever's going on in our interpersonal lives and worlds and the things that we're struggling with, whether it's all of the interesting things that are happening in our nation and in our world right now, there's so much to take our attention out there, to pull us away from our center. And I'm grateful for this song you chose, Lauren, of I Am Remembering Who I Am, because I think that is the deep message, the thing that's rising up from the deep for me in all of this is that let us not forget to remember the truth. There is so much I find every day that distracts me from the truth of who I am. I see it everywhere. And I'm sure many of us are feeling that it's hard in these moments, that it feels like there's a lot of turmoil going on in our nation to hold our center, to remain grounded, to remain in love, to remain in peace. As Reverend Grace reminded us in the prayer, that Ernest Holmes tells us that if we're looking at the chaos and we're trying to take apart the chaos and we're giving our attention to the chaos, what have we done but invested in the chaos? Right? We know that the nature of nature, the nature of the universe is to magnify and multiply the direction of our focus. So whatever we look at, whatever we pay attention to, whatever we feed, we get more of. Which is a very interesting thing to deal with when we feel like there are so many things that need our attention, that need to be fixed, that need to be healed, that need to be brought into the light. And so the question that's emerging, I think, continuously and always for spiritual people is, how do I remain on the inside, remaining in the truth, remaining in the vision, remaining in the possibility, knowing that it is my attention to the good, it's my attention to the possible, it's my attention to the vision that I want that will multiply that will give it power, that will bring it forward. While at the same time, there is so much that clearly needs our attention. And spiritual principle says if you give it your attention, you're feeding it. And yet it needs our attention. Does it feel like a paradox? There's a paradox across the street, apparently. That's the hotel. But I think that paradox is a spiritual quality. Paradox is part of the nature of existence, that we are both in oneness all the time, inseparable from the divine. There is nothing that anyone can do that can separate them from God. And yet here we are, clearly separate from each other. And we have to manage that dichotomy, that paradox in our minds that says, yes, it appears that we are separate from each other. It appears that there are sides of an argument. It appears that there is right and wrong. And yet at the same time, there is also a truth that says it is all connected. That there is only one thing happening, and that one thing is evolution, that one thing is life, that one thing is divinity, that one thing is spirit unfolding and interacting as the intricacies of life itself. And that's very confusing. We hold spiritual truths, and then we have to walk in the world and find a way to live them. Which is, I think, why we come to places like this and do spiritual study, to find the spiritual practices and the tools that help us stay grounded, that help us stay in the vision, that help us see the truth even in the appearance of something different. And, you know, you've heard me say this probably 1,000 times if you've been here more than once, that I believe we are living through what I keep calling the proving times, where we are being given, each one of us, the opportunity every day to prove to ourselves what we believe. And the universe is giving us opportunities to prove how it works. And I've been thinking a lot about everything that's rising up in this country, watching so much fear rising up, watching so much hatred, watching so much discord, watching so much that just rips my soul and my heart apart to see it. I come back to this question where I remember that everything is happening for me, nothing is happening to me, that God is all that there is, and if that is so, what is happening here? And I keep getting this thing that I don't even know that I have words for, but I'm going to try to talk about it. Which is that I believe on some level that everything necessary for our awakening is being laid out in front of us. That it might be easy to sit on a meditation cushion when it's easy and remember that it's all one. It's easy when we're at peace to believe in peace. It's easy when we have privilege not to worry about oppression. But when we get uncomfortable, when it gets really hard, when our beliefs come into question and everything we see makes us question what we believe, I think we're being handed a gift. I think perhaps we're being handed an opportunity to see God in places we could have never comprehended it before. That maybe there are individuals who are rising up on the world stage who are giving us an opportunity where it looks like there is the complete absence of good, where it looks like there is total separation, where it looks like the presence of evil is standing in front of us. And we are being given a challenge that says, can you see God in this? Can you find the spark of divinity? Can you see that a greater truth is at work here? Can you see that the recipe for unconditional love is being created right now? Because what is necessary for us to live in a world that works for everyone? That's our vision we claim for Centers for Spiritual Living. All these spiritual practices, all these spiritual tools, all these communities we have around the world. What is our purpose? To help bring about a world that works for everyone. Well, the only way we're going to get a world that works for everyone is if all hearts are cracked so wide open that compassion is our common language. And I think that sometimes the only way that we really get to true compassion is through experience, is through living through the pain, is through seeing the difficulty, is by having it right in our face that we can no longer look away anymore. The Buddhists say that life is suffering. They call it dukkha. Life is dukkha. Kind of feels like that right now. And in the Buddhist teachings, that idea that life is suffering is handed to you as the key to your awakening. It says, sit in this suffering, contemplate its meaning, its value. See what it brings up in you, what it causes you to question. what it makes you doubt, what it forges within you, what it makes you believe. And then from that suffering, from that muddy water, from all of that nutrients, the lotus is given life and essence, and that beautiful flower rises to the top. And that Buddhist hymn that says, "Become the jewel in the lotus flower." Become the spark of beauty that emerges from the chaos. Become the place of cohesion, become the place of peace, become the thing that has such gravity that your presence, your light, your words, your actions, your choices become an activity that bring others out of the suffering. And it's only when we have the capacity to rise above what is and look through the muddy water into a vision where that light is shining down, calling us, saying, rise up, rise up. And so if we find ourselves in the swamp or in the mud or in the ick or in the pain, look for that thing that is calling you upwards. Because the light is always shining, the divinity is always there, the something more is always calling on us. It's just a matter of where we're looking and how we're listening. And so I'm really clear that on some level, there's a great big invitation for all of humanity to awaken to something more. And Jean Houston likes to say that every other people before us thought that their time was the time when, like, the transition, the end, the beginning, the whatever. She says, everyone before you thought that their moment was the moment. They were wrong. It's this one. It's your moment. This is actually the moment. And there's a futurist and a spiritual teacher by the name of Barbara Marx Hubbard who has a body of work called Humanity Ascending. And it's all about the evolution of consciousness and humanity towards a greater, higher state of complexity. And when she first started this work many years ago, she tells a story of an out-of-body experience or a vision that she had. And she says that in this vision, she was brought into a place where she rose above the whole of the earth. And she was looking at all of the earth, and she could see and feel all of humanity on the planet. And she says something came forward that brought forth a collective moment of suffering, a collective moment of pain. And it was in that moment that the entirety of humanity had a shared focus. And in that moment, all hearts awakened. And I think there's something remarkable about that vision because it also reminds me that it's the power of our collective focus. We think that the power of intention is this wonderful thing when it's all good and feels great. But what happens when the difficult moments bring our collective attention together? Maybe it bonds us even stronger. I know in my own family, some of the most difficult moments that have happened between us are the ones that have made us a stronger unit. So what if that's happening for the family of humanity, is that there is something happening within our family that is causing so much discord, that is causing so much pain, and like never before, the entirety of humanity, for the most part, has the ability to view and to see and to know what is happening anywhere and everywhere on the planet. Which means that on some level, there is a collective consciousness, I believe, that is bubbling under the surface waiting to wake up. That there is a more of us. The invisible is just beneath the surface, getting ready to break through and to crack and to hatch and to open up. And that we can't arise to this next level of being. We can't awaken this collective consciousness. We can't step into this collective heart unless we heal all of the stuff that keeps us away from that. And unfortunately, and or fortunately, oftentimes the only way to heal something that we tend to not pay attention to is for it to get real big and ugly, for it to get our attention, for us to then do something about it. I've recently been listening to a podcast called The Telepathy Tapes, which I highly recommend if you haven't listened to this yet. The podcast starts out with interviews of families of non-speaking individuals with autism who've been taught to communicate through a certain method of spelling. And what gets revealed over the course of many conversations and interviews is that there is nonverbal communication happening between individuals, parents, and teachers in a way that is non-measurable, in a way that is mind to mind. And there ends up being in this podcast a whole number of interviews of these non-speaking individuals, and all of them talk about this place in consciousness where they're able to meet and gather and speak to each other around the country in their minds, psychically. And one of the things that they say is that anyone can join this place of collective thought only if they have good intentions and love in their hearts. And that anyone with bad intentions or ill will or seeking of power, they can't access this space. And so I bring that up to just tell us that there are individuals in our world who are telling us that there is a place where we can gather in consciousness, and that the only way to enter into this space is to enter with love in our hearts. And that from that space we can connect with each other, we can heal each other, we can remember each other, we can hold each other, we can speak into each other's hearts. So what if the more of us is trying to wake up? What if the truth is that there's only one of us here? That one is God. That one is love. That one is life itself. It looks like clusters of energy that we've named ourselves, that we think are separate from each other. But what if the something more is seeking to rise up, and that everything necessary for the highest possible outcome is making itself available to us? And that every little strand that needs to be healed or pulled out of the old tapestry so we can weave the new web is showing up for us. And so I want us to continue to dive deeper into the truth of our oneness, to continue to roll in the deep, remembering that we are sourced by a power that is greater than anything that we think is coming at us from outside. That the power of love has the capacity to overcome any appearance of hate, division, or separation. And that we have to cultivate it. We have to cultivate that love in our hearts through the songs and the chants, through community, through meditation, through prayer, through holding each other, through forgiving each other, for practicing with each other, in which we're in the people we're in relationships with. Those are your practice people. Your friends, your community, your partner, your family. Those are the people you get to practice loving. Because maybe it's a little easier, not all the time, but maybe it's a little easier to love the people you've chosen to love and the people you've kept around yourself. And even then, I'm sure we bump into each other. We have moments where we disagree, where we hurt each other's feelings, but we get to practice. We get to forgive. We get to be heard. We get to listen. We get to be in the practice with each other. And then that strengthens the muscle of love, so that then when we see the unlovable, when we see those who are hating, when we see those who are causing harm, we've done some practice and we can try loving them too. Because we have to. Because if we don't seek to love those who would hate us, if we don't pray for those who would harm us, then we are magnifying and multiplying the hate and the harm. And so how do we look to those who we see creating harm in the world and shower them with love? And as I said last week, let's remember that we're all connected, that there's only one of us here, that there's a field of consciousness in which we can meet. And so we can, in our meditations, we can, in our prayers, pour all the love we have into those unlovable, frozen hearts and see if we can melt it a little bit and let some love in. Spirituality is easy when it's easy. I saw a meme the other day that said religion is for people who are afraid of hell and spirituality is for people who've been there. Seems like a highly spiritual moment on planet Earth. Because the contrast, I think it's the falling into the depth, it's being in the pain, it's being in the separation that causes us to reach, to long, to want, to dream. And so what dreams of a compassionate nation are being awakened in each one of us by all of the actions we're seeing from coming out of the government? We're getting clearer. But the invitation is to drop in deeper. I tell you, through everything that has been unfolding in our nation and in our specific community, even with the sale of our building and all the stuff we dealt with the mold in the last year and a half, and there's been so much that needs to happen, and there's so many questions, and there's so many things that need to get done everywhere we look. And I tell you, I look out, and everything I see says, do something. And everybody wants an answer as to what it is we're going to do. And the answer that keeps coming from the depth of my being is sit and be still. Drop ever deeper into the oneness. Find the light of God so that it can shine through your eyes. Because much of the world is asleep. Much of the world is in the hypnosis of the chaos. But there have to be pockets of cohesion emerging, communities, individuals who are willing to see the good, to see the love, and to let it shine through us. So that's our task. That's our calling, is to roll ever deeper into the depths of our oneness, of our interconnection, and of our truth. To remember that there's more here than meets the eye. And something is calling us deeper than we've ever been before. And it's from that place, from deep down in the depths of our truth, that we can call forward a world that works. That we can call forward the healing and the awakening of the collective heart. That we can awaken and heal ourselves. So let's take it a little deeper. Take a deep breath in. Let it go. If it's comfortable for you, close your eyes and take another deep breath. This month we've been rolling in the deep. And so let's drop in. Let's remember the oneness. Let's remember the one truth that says God is all that there is. And by God, I simply mean the one power, the one life, the infinite, the energy of creation and evolution, that one life, the one presence, the one consciousness that is seamless throughout the entirety of the universe. That the one life is spiraling as galaxies, that is expanding in supernovas, that is drawing all things towards it as black holes, that has been evolving for billions of years as life on this planet. That the one life that is living in every tree and in every animal, that is in the breeze itself, is breathing through each one of us right now. So breathe again. And feel ourselves being breathed. Remember that there is only one breath, that we are truly sharing the breath as it moves into each one of us and back out. It is then breathed in by someone else and breathed again and again and again. The one life breathing through us all, moving through us all right now. That indeed not just those of us in this room, but that one life is breathing in through and as everyone and everything. That the very heartbeat, the pulse at the center of the earth is God. That each one of us is the life of divinity walking around on this planet for a little while. And that for whatever reason, each one of us, we chose or we were sent We arrived here in this world, in this moment, at this time, because we came here for this. We came here to be alive in this particular moment. Because each one of our hearts, each one of our minds, each one of our consciousness is part of something greater, something that is rising up, something that is awakening, something that is seeing the pain of the world and finding the heart of the world is awakening in the process. I'm going to claim in this moment of collective consciousness that the healing is already taking place, that the love is awakening across the land, that the truth that life is sacred is screaming from the earth. And so let us take the opportunity to listen, because the earth herself is crying out. Humanity is crying out. The environment is crying out. Nations are crying out. There is a calling for something more. And so let the shake-up be for the wake-up. Let each one of us find it in our hearts to cultivate love, to cultivate light, to cultivate possibility, to remember truth, to go ever deeper into our spiritual practice, to go ever deeper into possibility. That we become the ones who reveal those truths. We become the ones who reveal that oneness. We become the ones who act upon that love, who bring about those possibilities. And so I just speak a word for each and every person who is hearing these words, reminding us that we are one, that we are interconnected, that there is only one of us here. And so we breathe that in, to be grateful for the opportunity we have to be here in this space, to be held in this love and consciousness together. And let us take it as our task, as Reverend Deborah Johnson would say, to take this consciousness and multiply it, to take it out into the world and to share it with every person we interact with each and every person we pass on the street. And we share this through our eyes, through our words, through our choices, through our actions, through the way that we show up, through walking with open hearts. And so let us breathe a little deeper. And let us remember that we are being breathed. I love to say these words: I am breathed by God. I am lived by the universe. And so is each one of us. So let us feel ourselves as emanations of oneness and as lights of truth, being breathed by God, animated by the One. And so let us just surrender to that breath, to that which is breathing us, to remember that there is a power for good in this universe that is greater than we are. And it is always at work. And we can be agents of that good, agents of that power. Let us open. And let it come through us in everything that we do. And so would you take another deep breath and anchor all that has been spoken and affirm it with me together by saying, "And so it is."